Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about being prepared for a disaster or equipment failure and what I use to back up my fish tanks. Not only my fish tanks, but my entire fish room. So stay tuned. So the first thing you should do if you don't have one is go get a sponge filter. I think every single tank should have a sponge filter, or at least the ability to put a sponge filter in there, a cycled sponge filter. So if you're only running one tank and you have a sump, put a sponge filter in the sump. Just put it somewhere. Even just the smallest sponge filter hidden behind a rock somewhere will help out tremendously in a power outage or any type of emergency situation. If your main filter breaks, something of that nature, get a sponge filter. And the reason is because of emergencies or breakage, things like that. So I highly recommend at least getting one sponge filter. Almost every single one of my tanks has a sponge filter, and the ones that don't, I can drop one in an instant as long as I'm home. You know, if I'm not home and there's an emergency, then we got other problems. But as long as I make it home in that first 24 hours, I'll be all right. But I do have some that don't have sponge filters. So go get yourself a sponge filter, and let's take a look at what you can do with that sponge filter if something happens. So the first tool in my arsenal is a USB air pump, and I don't care which one you get. This is the one from Aquarium Co-op. Buy it on eBay, buy it on Aquarium Co-op. Just get one of these, USB. That's what's going to be the lifesaver. Obviously, you cannot plug this into your wall if you're in a power outage. So what do we do with that? We get one of these guys here. This is a solar panel. Open it up. Basically, you put this thing in the window and you are good to go. Now, this specific model is definitely overkill for one pump, but can you really have overkill in this hobby? I don't think so. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if the emergency is at night? Well, let me show you what we use at night. Boom, one of these guys here. This is a solar battery pack, the one that I normally take hiking with me. I've been using it out of my pond. This thing with a full charge, you can see it's almost dead because I was running this all night, will power this all night, no problems. Now, they don't really make this model anymore, so I can't really link you this one, but there's the specs if you want to know. 9,000 milliamps is all you need to run one of these. Now you can get them at 14,000, 15, 20,000, as big as you want to go. So one of these little USB pumps, either a battery pack or just straight up solar. Guys, get solar. Solar is amazing. So this setup right here will keep your sponge filter running pretty much until you get power back. This guy here will... Got some isopods earlier. It's one of the lids. Anyways, this guy right here, do I see a model number? This will get you power even in overcast. I don't see a model number here, but I can link it. This one here, the solar panels are not that good. You do need sun for this one. Like I said, this one will work in overcast. So like I said, if you only have 1, 2, maybe 3 tanks, a setup like this or similar to this will keep you good to go for a couple days, if not a week, until you get power. But what about me? Like, I have a whole fish room all powered by one central air pump. If I lose power, all my tanks are going to go down, and that little solar panel is definitely not going to do anything for me. Now, of course, the answer is get a generator. I also happen to have a generator, but it is buried in the garage. Not the best situation for an emergency, but in an emergency, I could clear it out of the garage pretty quickly. But I'm going to show you something that is a game changer that I don't think a lot of people take advantage of or just haven't thought of. And it's a very simple, very inexpensive piece of equipment. Let's go take a look. So it's kind of dark back here in the corner. This thing is running. Like, how quiet is that? Every single fish tank is running off of this, which is the Gemco LPH45. Kind of dusty there. So the LPH45, and then here is what I'm talking about. Of course, we have dog hair anywhere in this house. Jeez. A UPS battery backup, which is made for computers. This will run you about $50 at Best Buy, Amazon, anywhere. I'll put links down below. But it'll run this, which is 50 watts, for a day at least. So the longest power outage I've had since I've been keeping fish is 20 hours. And this piece of equipment right here ran that for 20 hours. It never ran out of battery. It's only 50 watts, and it had no problem at all. Now, here's when you got to think about not necessarily a disaster, but an equipment failure. What am I going to do now that I only have one pump that runs my entire fish room? And I think this is also overlooked. This company, and a lot of companies, don't carry stuff like this in stock. Now, you can go to Home Depot and get yourself a junker that's loud and obnoxious to run your fish room in an emergency. But if this thing fails, I can't wait 2 to 3 days for Gemco to ship me a new LPH 45, right? So what do? That right there is what I do. Now, these linear air piston pumps are not cheap. This is, again, the LPH 45. They're $199 each. But honestly, what's more expensive? Buying a backup $200 air pump or losing thousands of dollars worth of fish in my fish room? It's really a no-brainer. If you buy one, buy two. Trust me, guys, if this thing fails, you're going to want to back up. Now, I'll take it even another step further. And what do I have? I have a backup to my battery backup. That's right. I have one of these still brand new in the box in case something happens to that battery. So the goal here is to be prepared. I noticed I lost one of my Calvis was sitting down here that must have jumped out. He's been dead for a while, poor guy. There is a little hole right here that looks like he might have jumped out of. Well, definitely jumped out of and then came down here and dried up, which is unfortunate because those things take forever to grow out. So, while I have all these backups for my backups for my backups, something stupid like this and you can still lose a fish. Kind of frustrating, but I'm gonna have to cover that hole now. Probably should clean that too. Probably should have cleaned that before I filmed, but let's be real, we all have crust like this building up on our tanks. Don't act like you don't. Now, the other nice thing about this particular model is in a pinch, I can also hook up the USB air pump to this as well. Now, I don't know why I would. Sometimes I do randomly hook up air pumps and put in like air stones and things like that, which might be a good idea if you're in a power outage. If you don't have a sponge filter, at least get an air stone. So if we look at this nasty, gnarly tank right here, which is where I threw everything from the 75 gallon into when it was leaking, right here, I have an air stone. This thing is full of fish. We need some air in here, some more water movement. It doesn't look good, but these guys are almost ready to go back into a 75 gallon tank. And then we have, not a sponge filter, but we have the Zis filter in the back there, and this water is just out of control. But that's what happens when you have an emergency. Your tanks are just not gonna look good. So the last thing you should be concerned about is keeping your fish tanks warm. Now, my fish are in a fish room. There's no heaters, so there's a few heaters, but basically no heaters in the tanks. The room itself is heated, so all I have to do is close the door and try to keep as much heat in as possible until the power is restored. However, I do have this fish tank in the garage. Don't mind the mess over here. I just picked up this 90 gallon tank for free, stand and everything. It was a turtle tank. This was the top basking area for the turtle. Turtle's now out in the pond. So now I have this 90 gallon tank that, you know, I can do whatever I want with. But anyways, back to keeping this tank warm. I have these foam blocks here that, honestly, I don't do this in a good way, but I use tape and just tape them on all around. I have a whole stack of these, and I just tape them all the way around the outside. And then once I have these lined all the way around the outside, I will steal my dog's comforters and just drape the comforters. They're king-size comforters over this. And then I do the same thing to the sump down here. The sump, I don't put the foam blocks on there. You know, I just don't have enough. I should probably think about doing that. I do cover it with blankets to just try to keep it warm. But up here it gets the foam blocks. There's little Steen over there. And then the comforters drape over it, and the dogs are angry, but the dogs will do just fine in the cold weather. These guys need the comforter. So if you all take away anything from this video, I hope it's this right here, backup power supply. It's just invaluable. Even if you don't want to go USB, air pump, solar, you're running a hang-on back filter, you don't like sponge filters, a hang-on back filter is generally under 15 watts of power, which something like this would just power for an insanely long time. Definitely through most like typical storm power outage. I'm not talking about like hurricane, earthquake type, you know, disasters, but like just general storms and power outages. So again, if you take away anything from this video, I hope it's just that you pick one of these guys up, because it really is a lifesaver. So there you have it. There's kind of my general emergency preparedness plan for my fish and my reptiles, my dogs. I mean, my dogs are dogs. They'll get through just about anything. If I make it through, the dogs will make it through. But for all my other animals, that's kind of my disaster plan. I hope that you guys get some sort of value out of this video. And again, the UPS backup, just get one. It's probably the best $60 that I've ever spent for peace of mind. Again, I bought 2 of them, so $120, but it's peace of mind in case something goes wrong. I don't have to be home. As soon as power goes out, the battery kicks in immediately, and it's just that peace of mind if something happens when I'm not home, that I know in the back of my head that my fish tanks will be okay, at least until I can get home, and then I can kind of monitor it from there. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe. If you're not, hit that notification bell, and I hope to see you on the live streams on Monday, 5 p.m. Pacific, Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Otherwise, catch you in the next video.